guys see me? We're waiting for Kathy. It's just about 4 o'clock now. Let me know if you can hear me. We're just waiting for the guest. And we're live with Kathy Biehl.
Greetings, all.
I can only do this on my phone for some weird reason. It doesn't work on my big iPad. So right now we're stacked. Can you see me okay?
Yeah, I see you fine. I think that it actually displays with us side by side.
Oh, that's good. Okay. Let's just begin with a moment of silence for the souls that we lost in Maine. If you don't mind, everyone join me in a moment of silence. That would be great. May we find our way forward without gun violence in America. Thank you. Welcome to Spirit Talk Podcast. We have a little bit different of a scene here. We used to go into the studio and we just decided to stop doing that. So we are just live on YouTube together. YouTube now has that feature. And it is we're getting ready, and it's the time before this full moon lunar eclipse. It has been quite, I don't know if I remember a month like this one in my entire life. I mean, there's just like boom, 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 so many things happening. By the way, I love your shirt.
It's beautiful. I have to say that every time someone says that.
A beautiful Halloween shirt. So yeah, it's been quite a ride. I mean, I know that there's probably a lot going on in the skies. It's there has to be, and I'm not sure if it's like unprecedented in terms of the astrology of these times, but is it?
I wouldn't say that, but I can explain a bit as to why it's so intense.
When was the last so intense? When was the last time it was this intense? Can you think of a time where it was this intense? Maybe it's just America, but it just feels like the world.
There was a Saturn-Pluto opposition that happened right around 9/11 that was around this intense.
And we're in that now?
But we don't have a recurrence of that. There are several things that might be useful to understand right now. The first is it's always volatile in the 2 weeks between eclipses. The second is the 2 eclipses in October are simultaneously setting us in a new direction and wrapping up old business. And 2 more things. Right now, there's a lot of energy in the sign of Scorpio, and when the lunar eclipse happens this weekend, Jupiter, which expands everything, is opposing Mercury and Mars in Scorpio. So that was active when the speaker was, or the preacher was elected yesterday, and
wherever he is. We don't really know.
When the latest gun violence hit, and that it just kind of like expands, stretches, exacerbates Mars and Mercury together. That's hands, that's shooting something deadly through the air, unfortunately. But there's one other unusual situation going on right now that's worth mentioning. 2 of the outer planets, one of them is Saturn, which deals with order, rules, responsibility, giant no, and Pluto are both sitting, they're stationing. That means they're just sitting at the degree where they're going to direct station. So they're hovering on, bearing down on, circling on one spot in the sky, and there's a deepening and not really moving forward and dealing with it
Yeah.
vibe that comes from this. And
Yeah.
I want to throw in that Pluto is already direct, but it's been sitting at 27 Capricorn for some time. And 27 Capricorn is the final pass of the US Pluto return.
So
So
it already turned around. It already turned around
it
and it's
already turned around and it moves off that degree very early in November. So we're at a stage of wrapping up all kinds of stuff and what do we value and what do we believe in and what are the ground rules. And I find it really weird that a speaker is finally elected after all of this volatile chaos. I guess all chaos is volatile, all this
yeah.
volatility and chaos this week, but a speaker is elected right when Pluto is heading for his Mercury. This guy has Mercury at 28 degrees Capricorn. At the beginning of November, Pluto's finally going to go over that. So that also,
Oh,
so you asked me to look at the Lewiston chart. I have a time from a colleague of mine named Michelle Young, and it's got this expansive, you know, scattershoot of Jupiter on the ground, really amplifying the Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, and it's happening with Pluto on the US Pluto for the final
yeah.
time for
Yeah.
like 254 years. And what I see going on in this, especially when I put it in the US chart, is it's teeing up the US Chiron return, which happens next spring. We have Chiron in Aries, which has its woundedness about aggression, woundedness about around masculinity, woundedness around this violence. And
Yeah.
I think something will come of this.
We say that every time.
I know, but I think we're teeing up whatever happens when there's a solar eclipse in Aries in the spring, conjunct that Chiron. So some new paradigm is going to be ignited
In the
next
spring.
year.
In the
Hmm.
spring. I do. I mean, I don't mean to sound pessimistic that we think every time this is enough and is enough. This is going to be it. That's not going to, we're not going to stand for it anymore. And that, but I've done many readings where in the tarot cards, I just see nothing's going to be done. Nothing's going to be done.
Well,
Um,
today the Senate actually knocked out any they decided they were going to reinforce veterans' Second Amendment rights. Well, what this meant was the Senate knocked out the possibility of reporting veterans who have mental health problems, mental
oh,
instability,
they're just not going to report them.
so they
I
can
didn't.
get their guns. They can get their
I didn't.
guns.
I didn't hear this. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't want to rant. We're doing an astrology show. Take a breath. Yeah. Uh, who headed that up?
The Senate passed it. It was called the Kennedy Amendment. I don't know which Kennedy it was. Isn't there a Kennedy from Louisiana? Is that the source of trouble now? Is that the state that's
Yeah. Well,
moving into the source of
he
trouble?
he is heinous. I mean, this is like some of these people that I call the fascist Republicans are just. It's like wow. I don't think I've known anybody to be that horrible of a person with so many of them. Like, do you know any people that are that horrible in your own personal life? Okay, I can't point to one.
Nope.
So I didn't even know this kind of breed of human existed.
Oh,
But the
actually,
girl
there
in
are
our,
some people in my neighborhood who are like this, but I don't interact with them.
but so like cruel. Like I want to be as cruel as possible to you. I mean, I want to hurt you in certain ways. Like, is it can't be that bad?
Hold on a second. Let me check something here.
You should look up the horrible, the horror, the
No, no,
planet
no,
of
no, no, no.
horribleness.
I was looking at the chart for when the shooting started yesterday, and I put it around the U.S. chart, and there is unfortunately a marker here for uh, incredible sacrifice of people. I hate to say, and actually in a couple of ways, it being very, very sudden, and it's lighting up the uncomfortable nature of the US Neptune. We've talked about this before. The US has Neptune in Virgo, which gives it that's a marker for racism, for one thing. It's in the
Oh,
ninth house of the legal system, but it also seems to justify all kinds of actions that have no emotional underpinning to them, no compassion at all, even though it's Neptune.
right, right.
Which you would think that. So Uranus is currently in a trine, which is an unbroken link to
Hmm.
Neptune.
So Uranus associated with Aquarius?
Yes.
Okay, so that Uranus energy with Saturn, right? Is it? Did you say Saturn?
I said Saturn is just sitting where Saturn is sitting at the degree where it's going to station direct in a few days.
So the Saturn Uranus connection right now, what's happening with those planets is the energy of what's happening with those planets right now energy that is what you're describing, where like Uranus and Aquarian energy feels like this stuff is happening, but I'm detached from it. That
Yeah, and
what's
Neptune
that?
in Virgo is I'm detached from it, or I can
Yeah.
rationalize. I can rationalize what's happening here.
And what did John Kennedy from Louisiana do? He started up that.
I think he sponsored the amendment that has now led to uh, the VA can't report to gun licensing agencies when it treats a, a
Today,
veteran who's got mental issues.
today,
Today, that happened today, yes.
in the face of what's going on in Maine right now.
Hmm.
That, like, let's take that and make it more horrible, right? That. Let's be as horrible and evil, the unimaginably evil as we possibly can. Let's have more of that. Is that a U.S. trait,
Well, again,
astrologically?
that the U.S. Neptune in the house of is in Virgo, which is very detached
That, right. That,
in the house that deals with legislation, policy, courts, foreigners. Neptune in the sky has been opposite that, and actually at the shooting, the moon, the people was exactly opposite the US Neptune. So this is something that's touching a lot of people, and
yeah,
there's a huge vibe of sacrifice with it. But what
right.
I want to make clear here is this speaker being elected and this shooting are not unconnected.
Yeah, I was like bowled over by it was like horrible energy, and more horrible energy, and it just it felt like it all came at once, like boom.
Mm-hmm.
So is the U.S. stuck with this? I mean, I know you're looking at the United States chart. Is this just like somebody's personal astrology chart? To me, I consider it like your blueprint.
It is. Well, again, a lot of stuff that's going on now is going to shift gear very soon and then next spring. And I don't know where that's going to lead, but the fact that Saturn is retrograde, sitting at the very first degree of Pisces, and I think it's like on November 4th, very early in November,
Hmm.
it goes direct, but it still doesn't move for weeks. So it just sits at this degree, it's like it's
That doesn't sound
boring.
like it doesn't sound like progress in any way.
Well, slow. Once it goes forward, then it's the machinery starting to gear up.
around.
bigger and bigger. And there are a lot of people who are going to be called to the carpet when Saturn starts moving forward. I've said this before. I don't want to jump all over creation here, but look at what's
I'll have it.
happening in the New York Trump organization trial. Look at what's happened this week with people pleading in the Georgia RICO case. And as Saturn moves forward, it is going to squeeze a certain someone's chart in ways that he cannot get out of.
Boy,
And
is he angry. Is he angry?
right. But
Yeah.
where do you want to go? Do you want to talk a little bit about the personality of this speaker, or is it too sickening?
Well, let's. Well, there's that. A couple of things. One, I just want to acknowledge the people that are here. I appreciate you being here. Thank you. Tell your friends. Also, the way that we're set up, I literally can't see the chat, so it's kind of like blending in with Kathy's background. So just so you know, I'm not ignoring people. If you can see the chat and you want to respond to anything, feel free. I can't actually see it. But so I just want everyone to know we're not ignoring you. So we're going to be just focused on what. Can you see the chat?
I see something every once in a while. It might be good for us to say who we are.
Yeah, right. Well, we're on my channel. That's why I just kind of figure everybody knows us. Um, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm Kathy Biehl. My site is empowermentunlimited.net, and my YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian, and my host is Annette Dion of Psychic News Network.
They all know you. But anyway, I'm just teasing.
I don't know. There were people saying in the last one, like, who's this lady talking? Well,
Oh, really?
yeah.
Because you had it on your YouTube?
No, in the comments to the piece. Anyway, where is my chart
So
for?
before we delve into that, because there's a lot to talk about, if you just want to touch on how this full moon lunar eclipse will affect people personally, and then
Yes. Yes. All right. We are wrapping up a 2-year process. So think back to November of 2021. It maybe started feeling it a couple of months before then, but we're wrapping up eclipses that have had us look at what we value, that have had us look at our attitude about money, the actual money we have, our possessions, what we invest in, what
yeah,
we get out of what we put our time, money, and energy in, and how we share. And this eclipse series from November 2 years ago to this one has been an ongoing process of cleaning up and shutting down, clearing out and shutting down, clearing out and shutting down.
hmm
Unlike the next one, which is shooting us forward. But right now we're just changing. We're putting a lot of stuff to rest and moving. Just not going to deal with things a whole in the way we have been. So this is um, like the third act in a play when a lot of characters start leaving, things change, or you're finishing a book, you're finishing the volume and you're shutting it and you're not going to go back to that volume
you mean
anymore.
you mean now we're in the finishing stages of it?
Yes, yes. And so lunar eclipses, there are two really big characteristics of lunar eclipses. Look at this in your own life. One of them is massive revelations, seeing things that maybe you hadn't noticed before, finding out stuff that maybe you didn't know or you were ignoring, or something just comes to light. It's like a full moon to the 10th power. And the second thing is things leave, people leave, things end, massive endings. And this one has a lot of the sky in the sign of Scorpio, which doesn't mess around. And what
No.
I have been noticing is, I mean, in my immediate circle, there are people who have not only had to flee their homes, they've had to flee their countries, they've had to flee their families. In one case, they had to flee a spouse just to stay safe from nothing that they did. It was just where they were living.
Yeah.
Um, I know a number of people who have sudden and really dire medical things coming to light. I was
Mm.
dealing with a friend in the hospital right before we went live who found out yesterday something that made a lot of things make sense. And it's, you know,
Right.
this isn't little, none of this is little stuff. It's all things are going to go. I was at a
So
high
anything
school,
that's been in there and buried is gonna
it's coming
reveal
out.
it. I wanna just give myself a plug here that I'm a spiritual life coach, and what you were describing is exactly what happens in a spiritual life coaching session, because it's hard for people to see. It's hard for anybody to see what's going on in there. But I use my psychic gift to go, oh, I there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this, and then lo and behold, the person sees it. So that this is a great time for that. Like it's revealed before it can be healed. That's the little saying I've heard. If you reveal it, you can heal it. So it sounds like that kind of a thing.
Yes. And this isn't all just bad news, horrible, oh my God, what can I do with this?
Right.
You can go through this process and say, well, I'm done with this. I am done with this. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do this anymore. I'm not
Yeah.
putting my time in, fill in the blank. And then next week, after we get through the eclipse, there is an influence that kind of like opens a door and says, why don't you go that way? Ooh, here we go. So it's not like we're just being beaten up by the powers
Right.
that be. We're having our grasp
Let me
loosened on
let me
something.
let me share with you a little bit of what how I can relate to this personally, because people might be able to relate to this. 2021, I was having a lot of focus going into how can I expand my business, how can I do this, how can I be more like what I really ultimately see myself positioned as in life. And so that's pretty much, I'm pretty complete about that. So that next week I'm going to Maine and I'm going to a retreat about leadership. So it all everything that you're saying fits right in there, and it all happened really serendipitously. Where I was looking to stay at this particular place that is like a retreat center that I just discovered, and then I went to the website, and lo and behold, they're having this Northeast like it's called a Northeast Jam, and it's a like a leadership connecting with one another. It's a retreat for that, and so that's the next step for me is to get more well known as a leader and like a speaker kind of thing. So that all fits. I'm glad we're talking about the personal, reflect
Perfect.
astrology. So anybody who's in that kind of a mode, this is a time to step it up and really amp up who you want to be, who you are.
And if you're in the first week of November or the first week of May with birthday, this is you can set things up so that you aren't carrying other people's burdens. I know a Scorpio who's actually been on the verge of snapping because of increasing and insatiable demands being made on her by an aging relative, and
Hmm.
finally got help.
And
Like,
she's a
help
Scorpio.
that the aging relative is accepting, which is a miracle. I was part of this process, and
Okay.
watching this Scorpio actually own up to "I am going to crack" was pretty amazing, because a lot of Scorpios really play their cards close to their chest and don't let on to what's going on within them. So if you're like an early May Taurus or an early November Scorpio, you have opportunities here to say, nope, I'm playing it differently. It's kind of a 10 of Wands moment if you're familiar with the
Right.
tarot, which many of you out there are. Just like, I gotta bundle all of this up differently so I can walk down the road. Or maybe I'll just set fire to it.
Does that apply if you are Scorpio rising or Scorpio moon? And
Well, if you're the this moon is at 5, 5 Taurus.
yeah,
So if you have something that's in the early part of Taurus or Scorpio,
yeah,
it's especially strong for you.
yeah. That I have both.
It depends on what degree we're talking about here, so.
Yeah, I have to peak, but with Scorpio, it's really or Scorpio rising. It's 0 degrees.
Oh, well then. Oh,
Yeah,
really? Well, that explains a whole lot. Okay.
yeah. Explains probably what I just was relaying.
Yeah, but it also locks absolutely into my chart, so this makes sense.
Right. True. That's
I
cool.
have something at 0 Scorpio, but
I
it's
know it's in Taurus, but I'm not sure what degree. I have to go look that up. Yeah. So interesting. So it's a time of great transformation personally. And so we're all connected to the collective. So let's take a look at this new speaker who I don't feel like is going to last.
I will tell you that it is possible. Uh,
Did you
I've
hear all
got
the jokes about him being Mike Johnson? How many Mike Johnsons there are? Like, did you know Mike Johnson? You, everybody knows Mike Johnson.
well, all right, remember I said that there are 2 outer planets that are sitting at the degrees of their stations, and they're just sitting there. Um, Saturn goes direct. No, the first one, Pluto, moves off where it's been next week, very beginning of November, and it moves across his Mercury. And then the next week, Saturn Saturn flips and stations direct. It's not really moving, but it's just hovering there. What I see from that is, I'm not saying it's what is going to happen, but that's a window. He could be booted very quickly. He could
Yeah,
be booted within a week and a half or
he
so.
could be today. He could be booted today. I mean, it's very, very precarious. When's his birthday?
I regret to announce he's a fellow Aquarian. His birthday is January 30th, 1972. Don't have a
He's
birth time, but so I ran a solar chart, which puts the sun on the ascendant. And one thing that's interesting about this is the Libra solar eclipse in the middle of October happened on his Uranus, which is the quick change artist. It makes stuff happen really, really quickly. It's also a disruptor or a rebel, a rogue influence, and it's in the house of legislation and
wow.
policy in his chart. So he was going to be playing a different, probably bigger role one way or another
Yeah,
starting with this, but there's um, other stuff next spring. And if he lasts that next as long as next spring, he's got some really volatile, crazy, hard stuff happening, and again next October. So I personally wouldn't want to be him just for the astrology. Let's put the other stuff aside.
well, I'll share some insights with you that I got too. What do you see?
Well, uh, he has a kind of detached view of reality. So he's got the North Node, which is your path forward, right with his sun. So he has a communal vision, but Aquarius can be really rigid. So it's his
Yeah,
vision,
yeah,
and he's a full moon baby, just like me. So he's got Aquarius sun and a Leo moon, which is kind of dramatic. And
yeah,
he could be, I mean, he could be a warm person if you actually spoke to him. You might not, run screaming from the room, but he has outlier belief systems.
yeah,
He has
yeah,
very strong outside the norm belief systems, and his planet of highest degree is Saturn. So he's really rigid with his concepts. I mean, I would imagine he's one of those uh, evangelicals who believes that the man is supposed to beat his wife to keep her in line with God, kind
yeah.
of
I
stuff.
really get that. I really get that. I really feel like he lives in a bubble, and I really feel like he has fascism written all over him. Just like it's my way. This is the right way. It's got to be my way. And you heard about his stand on women. Did you hear what he said?
Yeah, yeah. We need more. They need to just keep birthing people, and then we wouldn't have a problem with.
And freaking the 1800s. What's up with the earlier? It's insane. Well, there are definitely positives to Aquarius. Well, we don't have to bash Aquarians, right? There's positives and negatives to every sign. I feel like he's the worst case scenario Aquarius.
Well, he's highly rigid. He's incredibly fixed. He
Fixed mind.
knows absolutely what he knows, and that's it. And
Yeah.
he can pass. So, what I see in this, it's one possibility is that Pluto's going to sit on his Mercury. Mercury is how you communicate. Mercury in Capricorn, a speaker in government. I mean, it's symbolic. Pluto's going to sit on that until the middle of December. So if he somehow makes it through the first week or two of November, something could change for him radically once Pluto gets off his Mercury in the middle of December.
I'll tell you my prediction.
Please do.
I pulled cards on it the other night. I got for him the Tower card, and I got for him the Eight of Cups. I don't remember what the third card was, but so the Tower card
Oh,
is not going to last, and the Eight of Cups, I got clearly got his past misdeeds are coming back, and a full reveal.
well, we can think of one.
Yeah,
Yeah, okay. Mhm.
direct
Well,
the insurrection. There's an ongoing coup. People aren't calling it that, and he's part of the ongoing coup. It's not the one. It's not, as in your face is January 6th. But we'll have to look at the United States chart if you want to see if there's anything that's highlighting that the coup is continuing and how we'll fare.
oh, Pluto sitting on the US Pluto. That's it right there. That is it right there.
When does that end? When does the coup end? With
Well, here's what's interesting. All right, so let me give you the exact date.
the when does the failing coup end?
Well, on November 2nd, Pluto moves off of the Pluto return of the US ends. It will have sat there 4
Oh,
times last year and then right now. And then it very slowly moves its way into Pluto in Aquarius, which happens 2/3 of the way into January. And then next, I think it's September, Pluto will scooch back into Capricorn for a few months and then go all the way into Aquarius. Now, what this means is we might have a little bit of cleanup work, but the intensity and the let's tear down everything that we've been undergoing in the really, really strongly in recent years is moving into the background. And let's add to that Saturn, accountability, responsibility, ramifications, repercussions, the law, karma starting
right.
to move forward.
November. Would you say November when?
It goes direct on November 4th.
Because
So,
November 7th
so
is a big election in Virginia. There's some other big elections too. So that's right prior to that. What do you anticipate that we'll see? Do you see anything?
well, I think that double punch of Pluto moving off the US Pluto degree and
Hmm.
Saturn starting to move forward will be, and I just recorded my podcast for next week, and this is a theme of it, not seeing it happen, but sensing like, oh boy, the machinery is in motion, and here it comes, and here it comes, and here it comes, and here
Justice.
it comes.
I think Mike Johnson is going to get subpoenaed for one
Wouldn't
thing.
be surprised.
For
And
one
let me
thing.
remind people, I've mentioned this multiple times, but I'll just put it out there again. From from June 2016, when the Trump Tower meeting happened, where all kinds of shenanigans happened,
Yeah.
uh, Neptune, which is I call a cosmic fog machine, was
Yeah.
starting to move into gaslighting territory, and this locked into Trump's chart in June of 2020, and that's when the big lie talk
When it
became really
started.
public.
Yeah.
So there was this gaslighting influence going on. Well, now Neptune has moved out of the way of that, and Saturn is following in Neptune's tracks. So as next year goes on, we'll see more and more cleanup and accountability for the big lie.
So I see this like you I love the cosmic fog, right? I see this big fog, right? From 2016 to 2020 in a big fog, and then I see a big gavel coming in, like a big ba-boom, right? With the
Yeah.
Saturn. Yeah. It's coming through the fog. Justice is coming through. I swear it has to. Have you peeked at Jack Smith's chart lately? I know I mentioned that, but
Oh, I gotta find it.
if
Keep
yeah,
talking.
if
Keep
it's handy,
talking.
because I didn't
Oh
really ask.
no, I've got piles and piles and piles all over the place. He's right here. Let's have a look.
Did we figure out he's a Gemini, Jack Smith?
He is a Gemini. Um,
Gemini
and
versus
his
Gemini.
sun is on Trump's Uranus, which is his rogue, his innovator, his disruptor planet. So, and Jack Smith's sun falls in the US chart in our house of partners. So, he works easily well with all of this. The eclipse this weekend is on his Saturn. So something something big moves into another gear
And
that
when
he's been working on for 2 years, and it
so
has to
Jack,
do.
okay, Saturn this weekend. All right. So what would that mean for him moving forward with the Trump trials?
Well,
We want that hammer. We're looking for,
possibly, I know you want the hammer. Uh,
metaphorically
the
speaking.
it is probable that he has the moon in Pisces. It might be in the very late degrees of Aquarius, because we don't have a birth time for him. But if it is in Pisces, which is probable, Saturn is moving over that. Hasn't he been separated from his family? Didn't he have to move because of being doxxed or something? Anyway,
I heard that he moved his whole family, but that might
okay.
not.
Uh, Also, there is a culmination here, uh, before in by early 2025. Saturn will move across his north node. So he's working toward something that has big, expanded, universal, whatever. Uh, he's doing something for a greater
Yeah,
purpose,
yeah.
almost like it's almost like it's got a religious zeal to it. And there's this one photo that used to be shown of him a lot where he looked like some kind of religious wizard. It was very strange, like priest
Well,
garb.
democracy is a divinely inspired principle.
And I would imagine that he looks at it that way.
Well, I wonder if we ever would be able to obtain George Washington's chart. I don't know if
Well,
anyone
that's
has
tricky because his birth date changed.
George Washington's
Yeah,
birthday.
because the calendar changed in his lifetime, and his parents gave him a choice of when he would celebrate it. So I might have to do some digging to find out when the actual date was, because I think he changed when he honored it.
So,
Um,
so is it possible to ballpark what month George Washington was
oh,
born? Or
I think he is a February birth.
because I think that because I read past lives and we've talked about this, I think Jack Smith is George Washington. I don't know if that's something that astrologers feel like they can see if they compare a chart. Like if you compare, do we ever compare Mussolini to Trump's chart?
Yes, we did, and there is a lot of Leo energy in both of them.
Yeah, yeah, okay. Because I do vaguely remember that we've been meeting a long time.
A
Like
long time, a long time.
familiar.
I will say, Jack Smith has, uh, I've mentioned this before, he's got what's called a stellium, which means a bunch. He has a bunch of placements closely together in Virgo. And he has a signature for being a change agent that people born mid to late 1960s have. And his stellium falls on the US Neptune. So he's doing something that will possibly clean up a lot of what happens in our legal system.
And are you able to see in somebody's chart at least the likelihood of success?
Well, I will say when Saturn hits his north node at the beginning of 2025, either he is completely ruined or completely vindicated.
Well, so what's the like? So you can't really see a
Well,
likelihood.
I mean, just kind of go with what past, what has happened in the past. I mean, he's got a um, oh, Neptune's going to be there at the same time. There's almost like a messianic or religious zeal in a lot of what he's doing,
Oh, yeah.
and you could some people might think that there's divine protection going on here. I will be flabbergasted if he does not succeed at what
Yeah.
he's doing because it just looks like he's got the goods.
Yeah, I mean, I put Joe Biden in the same boat. I feel like there's an otherworldly force that's guiding them and even protecting them. Because the divine expression of ourselves is as free, autonomous, humans, which is that's for the betterment of humankind to be free thinking.
And Biden operates from a base of compassion, which is a very different way of embodying Neptunian energy than we saw in the previous administration.
Yeah, it's very high vibration. Have you peeked at Fonnie Willis's chart recently?
No, but I have it. So let me.
I feel like she's knocking it out of the park. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, she knows what she's doing. Okay, got
She's
Letitia James.
really sharp. She's like very forward thinking and very strategic. And I always felt like she and Jack Smith were in communication. We heard that they were not.
Well, while I'm looking, I will just remind everyone Fonnie Willis has a lot of placements in Scorpio. And I mentioned
Oh,
previously that there's a lot in the sky that's in Scorpio. And right now, Mars and Mercury. So action and communication. Um, she's a one for targeted action. Why I had her, I saw it a few minutes. Hold on.
now you earlier said something about Mercury and
Here we go. I'll just look at it on the screen.
Mars having
So
to do.
this eclipse is on her sun. So this is a new I would imagine she's been working on this for a couple of years, and there's a strong monetary aspect to all this, and it's time for her to start seeing massive payback for all of the energy that she has been
Yeah,
uh,
like I'm
putting
guilty,
in this.
I'm guilty, and I'm guilty. Yeah, that's pretty good payback.
And next spring, actually before spring, late January, early February, Saturn's going to be squaring her Saturn. That might be a real testing or challenging time. Oh, wait a minute. No, no, no. It's going to be a T square. Hold on. Hold on. Uh, she could have some. First off, that time will be extraordinarily challenging for her personally. Not that not that what we've been going through hasn't been.
Oh, I
But
know.
honestly, don't bet against a Scorpio, okay? And she's got the
Yeah,
sun, she's got Mercury, so she plays her cards close to her chest. And she has Venus. She knows where the dirt is, she knows where the money is. But late in January, early in February, there will be an event that is like pushes something to a head. She might have an issue with a child that is like that comes from all of the effort that she's been putting into this. But
mm,
it also is a probability of something pushing her more to the top. I
I
don't
would.
see her failing
Yeah, I would
at
say the latter.
all.
Said,
I
yeah.
And I had said I have a dominoes are falling video up on my my, channel where I went through, like 5 important dates and charts for Trump and his various litigation woes, and, before this last Monday, which is when the first 2 trials in Georgia were scheduled, it
Right.
looked like at least one woman was gonna flip, and I said Sidney Powell, but I was wondering about Jenna Ellis, and so she's also flipped. I think this is gonna be more, singing the theme song from the
Said
'60s TV show.
I said all of them. I said all of them. I literally think everyone's gonna flip,
Well, except
except
the
the main dude.
the main dude.
Well,
He's
he
not
wouldn't flip. He'd just have to. I
he's
mean,
not gonna plead. He's not gonna
yeah,
plead.
Donald Trump would never plead guilty. Yeah, well, he wouldn't flip on himself.
But I wanna point out, she has Saturn in Gemini. Jack
Oh,
Smith has 5 degrees Gemini. Jack Smith has Mercury in Gemini in addition to his sun being there. Both of them are onto the Gemini players
oh yeah.
in this, which includes Mr. Four Seasons Landscaping, it includes Rudy Giuliani. So, she's, she's the clamp. She's the
Oh,
there was a great line in Animal House about, "I am that fist, I am that foot." I don't know. The dean says he's gonna stop something. She's got that, "I'm gonna get you, bam," energy.
right. Yeah. Does she have Venus in Scorpio?
Yes,
So she's a Scorpio and she has Venus in Scorpio. And what else?
and the sun,
And yeah, yeah. So she's sun. Is she November?
October 27th. That's
Tomorrow.
tomorrow!
It's tomorrow. Happy birthday, Fanny.
Mhm.
Awesome. That's great. So it really does seem like it's going to come to a head. Do you have you done a chart on the election
That's
day?
way too far ahead for me to think about.
Yeah. Well, for me too. I wouldn't go that far. I was just wondering if you had some astrologers have probably peaked at the
Oh,
astro
yeah,
of
yeah.
election day. What have you heard from people?
I'm honestly not worried at all. I'm
Yeah.
not worried at all. First
Yeah.
off,
No.
Biden's got really supportive aspects. And right now and into next year, and there's a lot of stuff that's been happening behind the scenes with him that's really, really powerful. Again, do not
Speaking.
underestimate a Scorpio.
Yeah.
And he doesn't need to be in the spotlight having people, dance and sing, "Oh, you're wonderful. Oh, yay, we love you."
No.
No
And
adulation. But the second thing is Kamala Harris has a sun moon. She's a full moon baby, Libra and Aries. So this current eclipse cycle is really pumping her up.
that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like Biden, whenever I've read on Biden recently, I just get this sense, and I said it last night, I'm not sure if it's that he's a Scorpio and is pretty psychic, but he's been saying things like, I have a feeling, blah, 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 right? And I feel like behind the scenes, he knows exactly what's going to happen to, like, say, for example, Mike Johnson.
Well, just so people know, Biden has Mars, which is how he gets things done,
Yeah,
and Mercury and the Sun and Venus in Scorpio, and 3 of the Mars in Scorpio is in the 11th house of group association, so that's him knowing how to make deals with people. He knows where people can be bought, he knows where the soft spots are, he knows how to read it, and that's what his career has been, brokering deals. But
so,
that Mercury, Sun, and Venus are in the 12th house. So not only are they in Scorpio, which is below the surface, but they're in
right.
the most hidden part of his chart. He is a guy who works behind the scenes.
That is so interesting because that's what I keep picking up is like there's something going on behind the scenes. It's like a whole sub story to the main story that we just don't know about. But I'm getting really strongly that he I don't know. We know he doesn't interfere with the investigations, but he just knows what's going to happen with these investigations.
He
By
knows all kinds of things, and he's not gonna tip his hand. This is ultimate
no,
ultimate zipped lips. But
yeah,
just as I said a few minutes ago that there's all this Scorpio energy in the sky and it's moving across Fonnie Willis's chart, well, it's also then going to move across all of Biden's planets. This is a really empowered time for him. And I'll just throw in fun fact. I mentioned that Fonnie Willis has Saturn in the early degrees of Gemini, clamping down on all these Gemini trickster legal people.
yeah.
Biden has Saturn and Gemini also, a different generation.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
So, and he has it in the seventh house, which is one on one relationships, it's
Right,
partners, but it's also open enemies.
right.
I would not mess with this man.
No, he's too wise. He's really wise.
He knows where the skeletons are. He knows what's going on. He knows how to play it. He won't tip his hand, and he's got really beautiful now and through the end of next year. He's got a grand trine in water, which is an unbroken expression of intuition and emotion. And if you want to say divinely guided, fine. With
Yeah.
Neptune in the sky linking to his Jupiter and to his Sun and Venus. So it's like, ooh, round robin of he'll know all kinds of stuff. He'll just know it.
Do you think we'll know it too?
Not all of it, I don't think.
But we'll know the bulk of it?
I think we'll know the important stuff. But this is also why he empathizes with people. This is why he can hug someone that he's never met and be there for
Yeah.
that
Right.
person. This is
What's
the kind of
what
personality that gives his cell phone number to a stuttering little boy.
right. What is the aspect that you probably already said it, that makes him that easy to connect with?
Well, he has all of this water in
Yeah.
his chart, but specifically Jupiter, which expands everything it touches, it amplifies it, makes it bigger, bigger, is in the is in Cancer, which is the
Uh,
most emotional
right,
sign. But it's
right.
in the eighth house, which is the Scorpio house, and his Jupiter is in a tight trine to his Mercury, how he communicates, his Sun, his basic being, and Venus. And this would keep him, I mean, if anyone is watching over him, it's his first wife, actually.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's. I wondered if you saw that in his chart that it was
I
through.
just saw it. I'd not thought of that before.
And the hard. Do you see? Is it in the chart that he would have all these hardships, like all this death and loss?
I'm not surprised with this that he did, um, but he could have. Oh, Neptune on the fourth house. Yeah, there's sacrifice there.
Right.
There's a possibility of sacrifice, but also great faith. And he had a choice with these energies. He could have just put his defenses up and gotten really cold and not shown anybody his heart, but instead, and I swear it's because of his faith that it went the way that it has.
Uh, I think he's on the phone with the Pope more often than we know. I mean, that's where he gets his spiritual strength, and I always get that. I feel like the Pope Francis gave him a holy relic or something. I really do. I feel like Joe Biden has something, of the mystical nature from the Pope, but
I
just
wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, it feels like they talk a lot. Um, as we wind down, I just want us to take a look at the United States chart, and do you see any cohesion between the people happening? I don't know what that might be. I'm not an astrologer, but what you might look for to find. Do you see anything that indicates that Americans will come together?
Well, when Pluto moves into Aquarius at the 2/3 of the way through January, That is a shift of power. We got a taste of it late March into mid-June this year. But every time Pluto changes signs, it's a different expression of power. So we've been having like oligarchic institutional power
Yeah.
to an extreme now when
Yeah.
Pluto and as the Aries Libra eclipses have been erupting and workers have been agitating for different arrangements, different agreements, that's like a prelude in a weird way, even though different signs are involved, to Pluto moving into Aquarius toward the end of January next year, and then we'll have Pluto in Aquarius until 2044. There's one brief time when we'll go back and clean up some of the top-down oligarchic institutional power stuff next fall, but we're going to be experiencing lateral distribution of power, which could be more community organizing. It could be more, local approach to living, local approach to how you do things. It
Right.
holds that potential.
Yeah, we have to go in that direction where we connect with one another. Get that retreat that I mentioned to you that I'm going to is about that. Is about connecting and communicating with people in a group. So what I see is that we have the potential with all the hardships in America right now, with all this tragedy, with the gun violence and all the rest of it. We have like this Mike Johnson, who actually I just read is like anti any gun laws whatsoever, anti woman, and anti America for that matter, right? So we have this really extreme contrast going on. And I always say the law of contrast says, like you see clearly what you don't want and choose more fully what you do want. I just wonder if that what we're going to choose more fully is to be united again. Harmony and understanding. What is it?
Well,
The areas.
oh, how am I gonna put this? I think there will be pockets of people with their own ideas of how this should go.
Yeah,
But looking at stuff from much more of a "we are all in this together"
that.
perspective becomes increasingly the order of things as Pluto gets into Aquarius. Now, mob rule can be dangerous. We saw that last time Pluto was in Aquarius, but I don't think that is what's going to happen in the US, actually. I don't think we're
Well,
going to have guillotines in the street and that kind of stuff.
hopefully we learned. Hopefully we learned that that doesn't work. The divisiveness doesn't work. I think we're ready. I think people through all the tragedies will say, I can't do nothing. We have to at least attempt to work together. And this might seem unrelated, but it isn't. I've noticed in my area where I live that it's become unaffordable to rent an apartment. It's become unaffordable for the average person with an average income. And I'm talking rentals. I'm not even talking about house purchase. I
Mhm.
think people will be forced to live in group and community in a communal way. So I know it's kind of like looking at the bright side, but we will be forced because of extenuating circumstances to come together in many ways. That's just one that I've noticed. Recently in the area that I live, I just found out that since last year, the rent has increased by 860%. I'm
Uh,
not even, yeah,
uh,
yeah. That so I know how it is to be an average American and go like 860%. The only option for a lot of people will be I have to house share or roommate or like that. And once we're together more and we're used to having conversations again, hopefully we haven't lost our ability to do that. If we're forced to work together, like tragedy brings people together, we don't want the tragedy, but a side effect, a side effect of tragedy is people come together. So it's through the hardship that we've been through. I mean, I know we've been under kind of like mob rule under the Trump era, but we saw what really doesn't work. And I'm just feeling like with all that Pluto and Aquarius energy, it just feels like we will have more of that because that's the only place that it can go. I feel like we're evolving. We grow through hardship. That's just the way it is, right? Personally and
Isn't that
collectively.
how diamonds are formed? There's carbon,
Yeah.
pressure is put on it, and then
And yeah, it gets tumbled and then it's a precious jewel. So we're all becoming precious jewels here. I know we hate the tumbling. We hate that part. And it's awful. It's really truly awful. What we have to go through. And there's a light. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, I promise. It's not a train. We
I
will
agree.
get through. I'd ask if there are any questions, but I can't see the chat at all. So I hope everyone enjoyed chatting with each other. Do you have anything else you want to add? You can go ahead and
Uh,
give
you
your.
know, next week you're gonna have a lot of opportunity just to watch, just to sit back and go, "Oh, now I see. Oh, now I see." So the the 2 things I'd say is whatever happens between now and early next week, don't fight anything. All right. Like, okay, I just let go. I let go. We're not going to be Gollum. We're not going to be going, my precious, and hanging on to things. Just let go. And the second thing is next week, just sit back and watch and take care of the little details. Next week, you're going to get some downtime. All right. Yay.
That's
Finally.
that's good for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect for you. You
That
get to look at something from a different perspective, but please do not undervalue, underestimate how phenomenally intense these times are, and go easy on your body and do really nice things for yourself.
yeah, because honestly, it is true that we're all connected and we all feel what other people are feeling. This has been an extremely hard day to be a psychic, just being so close to Maine and having a sister that lives there, and just I love Maine. Eventually I'll end up there probably. Um, so it's been tough, and just it is important to get rest and to, you know, drink your green juice or whatever you're into, but really keep the vibration high. Find ways to calm the energy. I sent a newsletter today for our meeting tonight. It was like take a deep breath, that wasn't deep enough. Take another deep breath. You're not breathing deeply enough. That's why you're not able to calm down, kind of thing. So it really is important, and just to know that we are like, even with my YouTube channel, doing these shows and the YouTube channel. Our friend Warren is insisting on that we do a group hug. So now we'll be doing group hugs just to feel that we need to connect with one another is really important. We're not meant to do this trip alone. And I think we're really learning that it's a long, strange trip, but we're not alone, right?
Very true.
Hats off to Jerry Garcia. So I want to too, you can tell your information again where people can reach you. Is it Professional Aquarian where we can see your videos that you
You're
spoke?
right. On the YouTube channel is Professional Aquarian. My website is empowermentunlimited.net. I have weekly, moon, and monthly forecasts. I have a talk for 30 measly dollars that explains what's going on with the Aries Libra eclipses. I have a Patreon where I give people really detailed navigational tips for dealing with everything and specific stuff for their charts. I also have a radio show on the first and third Monday of every month at 5 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and it's generally got an astrological theme to it,
So when we go to your YouTube channel, we type in Professional Aquarian. Everything you just said is in the description.
except for the Patreon. Yep.
Okay, good to know. Um, all right, so to reach me, psychic.annetteDion.com. Come to the Halloween party. Are you busy Sunday?
I don't know.
No pressure, but uh, psychicandetdion.com is where you go to get tickets. Well, I'm having a Halloween event from 6 to 8 Eastern time on Zoom. And we have about 9 people. I'd like to have at least twice that. So if you invite a friend, if you want to do it together, there's a place on the website to buy a ticket for the both of you. You get a little discount. So I'm saying that people should just have a Halloween party where they are and have the Zoom on and wear a costume and just have a great time because we need the fun energy. We need the vibe to be up. I think about Maine and I think about how it's like Maine is like the quintessential Halloween state. I think. I mean, you think it would be Massachusetts, but this time of year is just so magical and so beautiful there. So let's lift up the energy with having some playful and fun, light, high vibration because it does affect the collective. So psychicandetdion.com. This is a time when the veils are very thin. When you book a reading, a tarot reading, you also get a free gift, which is a choice of a few meditations. One of the meditations that I do, guided meditations. So check it out. Check out Kathy. Are you doing a lot of readings these days? Personal?
Yeah, I was out of town for a while and I've come back to a slammed schedule. I'm
Good.
not complaining. I am not complaining.
Good for you. I love when that happens. All right. Yay, yay, yay. All right, we'll be back. When do you want to do this? The new moon, we are usually doing that schedule. New moon week and full moon week, and the new moon is on November 13th. So we can do the 7th, or I don't know, we can pick a day, but we can tell people now so they'll mark their
I
calendar.
think I can do Tuesday the 7th.
Okay, let's do for
That's
Tuesday.
our usual bat time is 3 Eastern on Tuesday of whatever the week.
And I'll confirm with you. So look for us on Tuesday the 7th for our next show.
Have a little Halloween duck.
Oh,
Got this at a party last night. I have a group of female friends I've known for like 22 years out here, and we had a birthday dinner for a Scorpio yesterday, and I realized that we had also had this marvelous birthday event for her when she turned 60, where she was out somewhere and she came back and we lined the driveway. We threw rose petals at her. She didn't know we were going to be there, and then I did the math and went, "Your 60th birthday just graduated from high school." Took her a while to figure out. She had just turned 78.
She just turned 78. Oh,
So
wow.
we all got little Halloween ducks.
What lovely friends you are. That's so nice. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you at the party. And
So,
everybody else, join grassrootsofdemocracy.com. We have a meeting tonight.
and show up on Tuesdays. The meditations are powerful.
Yes, and 20 on Tuesdays. Those are powerful meditations. So we got to get the word out more. All right. Thank you so much.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween and happy full moon lunar eclipse. Bye.